What is women empowerment? If I ask this question to a teenage girl today, I'd probably get answers relating empowerment to visuals and aesthetics. A short little fun story. I was walking to my stop one fine morning when I saw a guy approach me. He came to me, he handed me out a paper, and I was like, okay. I took the paper, I flipped it around, and it turned out to be a weight loss pamphlet. But that's not all. That guy was also generous enough to give me a few free samples of herbal tea leaves to help me with my non existent weight loss journey. I was stunned. There's a saying that goes, real beauty comes from within. But the ideal of beauty standards throughout history begs to differ, as it wasn't about anything apart from the surface level looks at all. I've grown up in a society which was fixated on women having to be slim, fair skinned, and long haired in order for them to be even considered beautiful. But I also come from a society which was not afraid to remind you of you not fitting in without holding back. Luckily for me, I am not the kind of person that likes being told what to do or how to look, which pretty much saved me from falling into this trap in my preteens. But as I started to grow older, people started noticing changes with my appearance, with my weight, and with my color, and that's when the anxiety started to kick in. If I ask you all a question today, how many of us present in this room have had changes in our appearance that we did not notice unless made to by a family member or relative? And if all of you sitting over here raise your hands, I wouldn't be surprised. Because we as a culture and as a society are obsessed with color and size. It's become so prioritized by people these days that how they look eventually dictates their identity. This obsession fuels societal pressure in women to appear a certain way and have a certain body type with proportions that are impossible to attain. Now, the roots of these unrealistic beauty standards go back to the ancient Greeks from the 500 to 300 BC, who sought utmost visual perfection. The men were athletic, while the women were preferred with fuller figures. Women would stuff themselves into corsets to appear more prim, proper, and porcelain. While it was heartily accepted at that time, there's still an ongoing debate about how torturous it was for women, as it made it punishing for them to eat and breathe properly. Later, in the 1920s, a more flat and boyish figure became the ideal. Following the Great Depression came the golden era of Hollywood from 1950s to 30s to 50s, where popular movies started glorifying the hourglass figure. Marilyn Monroe and Grace Kelly became the quintessential beauty icons, normalizing a body mass index. But things worsened with the 1970s as a more athletic and toned body became desirable. Eating disorders became widespread as eating and dieting pills became more available. Now, these standards evolved throughout the 2000s, and a perfect body looks completely different today. What eats these unrealistic beauty standards or makes them relevant to the world today is media. Magazines, TV shows, and articles push women to influence their bodies to go against nature. High fashion brands like Victoria's Secret make headlines for misogyny and bullying of their employees and models. Now, it's a very wide phenomena. Growing up, what bothered me the most was not people's infatuation with light skin, but the discriminatory and partial behavior with the light skinned people, with the dark skinned people. How can we come down to hating our own people, our own race, our own color? Brown is beautiful, and so is black. And Eurocentric features aren't the only epitome of beauty. Honestly, we have messed up big time and have been pretty harsh on ourselves. From the TV advertisements that taught me as a child how the quality of being lovely comes attached to being fair, to industries like Bollywood that objectify young women in movies and songs, calling them literal objects through dehumanizing song lyrics. From how the waists of Disney princesses are unconventionally thin to how the villains are mostly plump and chubby. India's fashion magazines invariably edit pictures of actresses and models to make them appear more flawless, which is equal to making them appear more fairer. This becomes more prominent as stars start endorsing skin lightening creams, somewhere perpetuating the message that lighter skinned people are more successful and happier in life. Now, beauty standards was not something that I remember being particularly ecstatic about as a child in middle school. But as I started to observe the mindsets around me, I came down to the realization that everything has ever been about the perfect look. Like every year, my previous school student council elections were organized for 2019. And I remember all of my friends, including me, being very confident about this one girl who stood up. She was the overachiever, best grades, and most disciplined, a worthy candidate for the school head girl. But when the results came out, we were shocked to know she did not win. Rather, someone else did, who hardly anyone was rooting for. But these are elections. It's the people who get to choose and vote. Upon asking some of our juniors the reason they voted for her, we were shocked to hear replies like, because she was fair, or because she was beautiful, and because she had hazel eyes. It was saddening to know how one gets judged for the color of their skin and disliked for it. But what was even more miserable was that this mindset of colorism was embedded in the minds of young children who couldn't think of any other criteria apart from skin color to make a decision. What actually feeds these beauty standards and trash beliefs inside the minds of these young children is social media. With influencers getting more popular these days, gimmicky weight loss products, thinspiration, and major body shaming has become more widespread. Fun fact, we all age with time because we are living creatures. But we live in a world that refuses to accept that for women and for men. And it would be, I think, safe to say that it's not wrong to maintain a good health as you grow old, to maintain a particular body type. But that's not the reason why a lot of people choose the option of plastic surgeries, cosmetic surgeries, fat removal, and altering their body. They do it to prevent themselves from aging, which is a natural phenomenon. And I think I would be right if I say that Instagram is one of the major contributing factors when it comes to people acting like this. For me, social media recently became a platform which was feeding in my insecurities. Especially after lockdown, I became extremely insecure. I started developing social anxiety. When I went to school, I'd wear a mask. When I'd go to school, I'd be wearing a mask. And the only reason for that was my growing insecurities, which were pretty baseless and lame. Something I realized when I watched my other friends do the same. Now, me thinking all of that and that mindset that I had at that time to look a certain way, I think it's not wrong because it's something more conventional these days. Everybody wants a size zero figure, let's be honest. And eating and sleeping on time is not something that's gonna help you attain that. Some people have naturally maintained the size zero figures that they have. It's something logical. And some people do not because we have different body types and we have to cater to them and according to our own needs and not follow a particular diet. Really personal to me because I have suffered with these deep thoughts and felt I have felt really anxious about all of this. Because the thing is, a person having money is just like a person having beauty. No matter how much you have, at the end of the day, you'd always crave for more. We are living in the 21st century where people have accepted the fact that we as humans have different personalities. We have different mindsets, and we respect that. We have different opinions, different styles of learning, and as a society, we have come to accept that fact that we all are different from inside. then why is it so hard to accept that even people are different when it comes to their looks, when it comes to the color of their skin, when it comes to their race, their ethnicities, their height, their weight, their size? We are all meant to be different. From the perspective of someone who has watched her friends starve fit into dresses, it is not pretty. Clothes are meant to fit you rather than the other way around. I'll tell you why this happens. Because when we become insecure and we start feeding our demons, these makeup brands and fashion companies thrive. They enjoy the profit. They thrive on our dead individuality and rationality. Because let's get real, as we age, our skin starts to age too, our body starts to age too. So, what happened was when I went home that day, I dumped that dim witted pamphlet into the dustbin and those tea bags too. I feel a bit sad about that, but that's fine. And not to mention, I also had some chocolate pastries later in the evening. And you know what? That act of choosing to feel comfortable in my own skin is what truly made me feel empowered as a woman. Thank you.